Frickin' crap, everybody. It's me, Monster Mac, here with another edition of the Mack-Cast. Am I yelling? I'm excited, Trainee. Another edition. We're on a roll. I know. We took a few weeks off, and now we're back in action, right? Or was it a few months? I'm not sure. 9 months?
Yeah.
Did I impregnate a lovely lady, and now I have to support it?
Yes, with the podcast.
With podcast money. So we had to bring the podcast back.
To support that baby.
And I like to say we're in the Mack Mansion. It looks beautiful in here. We're in one of the many dining rooms or living rooms. It's slash, you know what I mean? It's so big that I can afford to have a table
over there. There's a couch
in the living room.
the TV.
I like to dine all over the place, Trainee.
I believe it.
Very relaxed podcast here on the Mack-Cast. I got my silk mask on. It's one of the ones with the zippers on the back. You don't even have to tie that shit.
That's lazy man.
Yes. Well, I'm at home, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the French wine is here. Trainee number one.
Yeah, what's up?
It's going to be a good one. And you're about to tell the people why.
Because it's the Mack-Cast. That's why. What do you mean? You got nothing? Nothing to say? You just walking away from me? You literally got up and he walked away. That's why he was trying to get me to talk. He seems confused. Mac has been sipping on the French wine, but not as much as before. One of the past podcasts. Mike, I was actually I was hoping to do this podcast later on this weekend after you have your match at the RWA Friday, but we scheduled it. The schedules didn't work out, so we're here. It's like an early morning / afternoon podcast.
Well, Trainee, I gotta tell you, I'm happy to be here. I'm jazzed up to be here.
This is gonna get jazzy, folks, for sure. But
Jazz
if you couldn't tell
personified.
by the voice, in the Mack Mansion is the man. I've known you by many names, but now it's the Ace Mike Montero. It's been the Ace Mike Montero for a while,
Yeah,
but for sure Mike Montero.
yeah, that's me. I've been doing that for a while.
Now, how far back are we gonna go? Are we gonna go to like Blue?
Oh, we could. I mean, everybody starts somewhere, you know what I
Right,
mean?
of course,
So,
of
yeah,
course. I was the hip hop homie.
The hip hop homie. That's awesome.
I wore like a weird
That's awesome.
black and orange. Like, was it a Rey Mysterio? I don't know. Was it a Rey Mysterio mask?
It was atrocious, and I knew then that I had to take this young boy under my wing and clean this dude up. You know, the hip-hop
See,
homie.
back in, it's funny that
Dude,
you
he
know.
had the sweetest, though. I liked his gear.
Yeah, well, I wore Sean John shorts, orange Sean John shorts, and like a white shirt with orange trim, and I did the Cabbage Patch on the way to the ring, dog.
Oh, dude, you did some Public Enemy action.
Oh, for sure,
Of course.
But when Monster Mac says he took that young boy under his wing, he meant literally, because I was a young boy.
You were a young boy.
I was probably like
were a
14,
child. Yeah.
15, and I'm just hanging out.
Adolescent.
And he was like 35 then, you know what I mean? He was old as hell then. And how weird must that have been for everybody? And surprise entrant in the house, elbow high five, Tommy Trainwreck in this piece. What's up, Tommy?
How's it going, podcasters and podcast listeners alike?
We're the podcasters. You guys are the listeners. And I don't know if you know this, but obviously people know this. You and Tommy have a long history. You guys, again, been wrestling together for a long ass time. You guys
We
feuded
broke in together.
I've seen you guys, the Minutemen versus the Influence, probably 30,000 times.
We've literally done it in like 5 different states. That's a real thing. But yeah, we all started together. If you want to talk about Blue, though, I mean, the truth of that is I was like the only one of my friends who knew what TNA wrestling was, and I was a mark for the Amazing Red. Only in life, I wore the color blue all the time. I didn't wear anything else besides blue, and I was a mark for red. So I was like,
so
I'm
instead of
blue.
red, you were blue.
Yep.
And that leads us to Baby Blue, who's James Tucker.
Yeah.
He's like a little baby Mike Montero.
Baby version of me. Yeah.
And by
I've
baby
caught
version,
that.
I mean like he cries a lot. He's
Yeah,
like
sometimes.
the cry version. of you.
Yeah, he cries. He cries.
For sure. But Mike, we're gonna go back all the way back because you, like me, like long time wrestling fan, like from childhood.
Absolutely.
And what it comes down, like you meet a lot of people who get into it at like a certain age, like Attitude Era, a lot of Attitude Era guys. You were, but wait, like before that, big fan. Before that. Like, what was it about wrestling? Like, what's your first memory of pro wrestling? That I mean, I don't think anybody ever remembers the first match they saw specifically, but it's the first thing that stands out to you that made you a fan, I think, for real.
It's something so random. Like, even to this day, like, I think about it, and I think about, like, my first memory of wrestling, and it's the Hitman's glasses. It's
The Hitman.
The Hitman's
Bruh.
glasses. Because, like, I can't,
Yeah.
when I was a kid,
Did you have a pair?
I did, actually. I did
Damn
have a
right
pair.
you did.
I did have a pair. I got them at the Bank Street Armory, my first
You
wrestling
didn't
show
give
I
them
went
to you personally, right?
No, I wish. Oh, man, I wish. But, like, I had to leave that show with the Hitman glasses, though. I needed some Hitman glasses. That was the deal. But, like, I don't know. Like, even now, like,
Who was it? Who bought you the glasses?
My mom. My mom was a G.
Moms came through?
My mom's hooked it up. She hooked it up with the tickets and everything, and I was so excited. I was
So you
jazzed.
were a fan going all the way back to the Armory shows.
Yeah, and what's
you were
weird
already
is,
going
like,
to shows.
dude, what's weird was that show was in '94.
Right.
I was born in '91, so, like, I can remember the blue steps at 3 years old. Like, I can still remember that.
Being there live.
Yeah, like, just seeing the steps and thinking, like, if I can get over this guardrail, I can slip in there. My mom's like, nope, that's not happening. Let's go. Come on. When the show was over, I can remember being, like, in tears, like, no, I want to get in that ring. Come on,
The Bank
please.
Street Armies held all kinds of different events. ECWs came down. My first memory, for some reason, was Tatanka being on the show. I don't know if they had a crappy card when I went, and there wasn't. But Tatanka's the only guy I can remember.
I remember Tatanka was there at the show I went to, too. And
You guys are probably at the same show.
we also got Adam Bomb.
You, for some reason, didn't remember Brett was there or anything like that.
Oh, you know, the good guy.
Yo, that Indian guy running around.
Doink the Clown was there,
Dork
too.
the Clown was there. We must have been at the same show. This is weird.
Probably
this
at the
is
same
weird.
show. You know, I have that. There's a few friends that I've met through wrestling that I realize now that I could have known my whole life from going to similar events. Guys like Tony P. Tony P. and I have been to concerts at the same time, traveled to different states for concerts
even
at the same
realizing
time.
it.
Yeah, we were in the same van going to a Ring of Honor show, and we met each other in RWA in like 2014.
What? Wait a minute. In the same car?
Van, going to the same RF Video did a road to I don't know what the hell it was called. Glory by Honor. We were going to Glory by Honor. It was the first one in Philly at the Murphy Rec Center or whatever the hell it was called. Wow. And they did some sort of like a van thing. It was supposed to be a bus. We were supposed to get a bus with like with TVs. Remember that?
It was promoted as a bus. Some people did get a bus, though.
Yeah, the people from New York got a
So
bus.
some people got a bus?
Yeah, but because there's only like 10 of us from New England, from Massachusetts going, we got a minivan. So we were in a minivan with Doug Williams, who they picked up from the airport.
So random.
Who was just asleep. Alex Arion, Sheldon Goldberg. Tony was there. Tony P was there. They had like a
So
generic
random.
little VHS TV in the front. That was our TV. They had a TV in the front playing VHS tapes.
So cool.
But we met each other all those years later in RWA. So strange.
That's what I love about RWA is the fact that like so many people have come together from all different places, like all different companies. Especially now, like I love walking into the building now because when you go there now, you can look around and you see guys from the up there Mass area, and then you see the chaotic guys. You see the guys from Jay Rumble's old school, and it's crazy. Like there's knowledge from like so many different places, and there's so much from like Rich Bass now. Like it's crazy. There's so much to be given, and like I don't think like these new crop of guys who like wrestle in RWA now actually realize the opportunity they have to pick so many like credible
Brains?
people
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
intelligent people's brains. Yeah,
The only way this would work back in the day is if you went to those promotions and worked. And seen them.
exactly.
Instead, they're all converging in the RWA.
Exactly. That's what's awesome, man. It brings everybody together for the same common goal. We all just want to kill it.
All of us, everybody.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
you brought up the RWA. You have a long history with the RWA, like going all the way back to like what year? What year?
I was there the very first show. I believe it was September 9th, 2007.
So almost 9 years ago to the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, just
'Cause we're
about.
pretty close. Did you wrestle before that? Were you in fact a backyard wrestler?
I was, in fact, a backyard wrestler.
Because everybody was. That's why,
Yes.
dude. Like,
Yes.
I feel like
I don't like I honestly I hate when people like try to shit on it because like sure it is what it is, but like pretty much not one wrestler can say they didn't start wrestling in the backyard.
You're close enough to my age where like with Moss Mack's age, our age, like that group, backyard wrestling was like sold to us.
Absolutely.
video games and
It was
VHS tapes, and
everything.
it was popular, man. Like everybody, I feel like anybody that got into wrestling at that time and broke in. Backyard wrestled at some point or another, whether you were on the grass, in a ring in a backyard, in a trampoline
I feel
like
like
Mack.
there comes a point where you become old enough to. You're always a fan, but then as you get older, you start to want to do it. So you just want to do it anywhere. Like it doesn't. Wherever you find a place to go, that's wrestling to you, and that's.
Of course, you do it where you're most comfortable at first, which is your house, your backyard,
Exactly, with
your
your
friend's
friends.
house, your friend's backyard,
Exactly.
with your friends. Like it makes
Exactly.
sense, especially at teenage years, like when you're just getting all those hormones, you're getting all shot up with hormones. You don't know what the hell's going on. You're just like, I need to grapple.
So how we got to actually grappling in a wrestling ring and wrestling for the RWA is kind of funny, is because like we were backyard wrestling and Chris Cruz happened to just see us at, I think it was Father Kelly Park on the ground.
So you guys are doing it straight up on the ground?
On the ground, like some grass
Damn,
field,
that's dangerous
like
stuff. I did it
Yeah.
safe. I played it safe with the trampoline.
yeah. No, we were just it was out of control, the things we were doing,
Did-
because like
did-
Trampoline was cool though. It wasn't like a normal trampoline. Like
I got the mattress hook up at the end.
yeah, I think I've heard about this.
Old mattresses. We would steal people's mattresses, and we found a few down by the train tracks.
yeah, you had like the stakes. You had big poles buried in the ground. You had ropes, turnbuckle pads which were I think bags of dirt, duct taped to where the ropes met, which was pretty funny.
It was just like 100 Stop and Shop bags just put into one. And
Excellent,
taped
excellent.
to the poles.
I thought it was dirt always. And like I'm pretty sure that there was like one spot in Monster Mack's trampo ring that was not mattresses, it was box springs. So like
Okay.
you didn't want to bump in that corner ever because you just get all jacked up.
That's hilarious.
My question, during the winter, did you guys take time off during the winter? Because that ground can be vicious if it's frozen.
Yes, we did take time
No,
off.
I
It was
don't
like
blame you on that one.
It was like an off season because the ground was death. It was like you know how when you're wrestling in a building and the building's cold and it just makes the
And
ring
the
so
ring's
much
stiff,
harder.
yeah.
Just like that. It's like, no, we don't want to do that. We'll wait till it gets warm out again.
So this is kind of humorous. We just participated in the House of Bricks base brawl.
Oh, I love the base brawl.
which was the
base brawls.
5-on-5 tag team extravaganza that happened. And me and Monster Mack, at one point, I'm pretty sure it was my idea, so I'll take full responsibility for it. Double suplexed Donnie Rotten on the grass in the baseball field. And I never want to do that again in my life. Like, I took one bump on that grass, and I realized that I'm an old-ass
I remember
man.
taking the suplex in the grass and thinking, like, why?
Yeah.
Just why?
Dude, we suplexed that dude. Trainer was like, yeah, double suplex, let's do it. I was like, I'm down. I immediately regretted doing it as soon as we landed. I remember looking at Trini and be like, dude, what the hell?
I looked up and made direct eye contact with Brickhouse Baker, who was sitting in the front row of his own show, filming the match with a big-ass smile on his face. Just loving it up.
That's so funny.
I also pre-gamed for that one. I had to. It was the base brawl. A lot of French wine.
Oh, got a little
Yeah,
bit jazzed
little-
up,
little
huh?
nippy
Sipping a
nips.
little bit of that jazz juice.
The jazz juice for sure. He was
French wine and a nip. Like secured. That way,
secured. French
Secured.
wine
Okay,
nips.
I got you.
So, were you the kind of backyard wrestler like bash you with light tubes, pile driver from the top of a shed through tables, or were you out there like grappling on the grass?
It was weird. Like, I didn't like all that crazy stuff. Like, when somebody was like, "Oh, like light tubes," you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna get hit with light tubes. I'd be like, okay, whatever. Just because everybody else was getting hit with them. So like, I didn't want to be that bitch who was like, no, I don't want to get hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would do that, but like, I regretted it every time. The only thing I really like enjoyed to do, and to this day I still do, is I was the guy who jumped off of things.
Yeah, I've seen you jump off all kinds of stuff. You
I
front
was the
flipped off
guy who jumped off of things, always.
front flipped off a stage
Always.
at us. I seen you jump off of, was that a basketball hoop? Above the basketball hoop, right?
It
you
was,
were
yeah.
at the Armory, Bankstreet Armory,
Which
we were
is
talking
really
about,
cool.
which is kind of like
Which is-
an all around the, like come full circle. You went first wrestling show, Bank Street Armory. You wrestled at the Bank Street Armory.
And
did
then
a
I
big
find
old
out I
flippy-do.
apparently do a flip dive off of the same spot that New Jack's
used to-
apparently
New Jack
dove
used to
off
jump
of.
off.
I
I've
didn't know
seen
that
New
myself
Jack
because
jump
I
off
was
that
too
a bunch
young
of
to.
times.
I was really young, and I wasn't exposed to ECW
ECW
when it
until
was
later
like
on.
when it was actually happening
in this area.
Yeah, so like I didn't know about any of that. So when I heard about that, I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like I do from the same spot. Like, yeah, that's what I was. I was the guy. Like I would always pick that one crazy thing to do. Just I'll jump off something really high. But I didn't want to go through fire or attacks or all that crazy ridiculous stuff that kids were doing. But I mean, in the end, what ended up happening was, I think it was one of our friends was holding a guy up for a vertebreaker on the ground, and Chris Cruz just happened to drive by.
Now, it's funny because Chris Cruz has got a pass with us. Like, Chris Cruz started training at the same time I did and all that jive. He went to the Scotty Jive training academy.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to the Mack training school. And, I mean, we both turned out pretty good, but where's Scotty Jive now? That's the real question.
Who knows?
Where you at, Jive? Are you listening to the podcast? I haven't heard from you in months.
Probably not.
Probably not. But, thanks, Scotty Jive. Way to be a good friend.
Yeah, friend you are.
By the way, I'm sure Chris Cruz doesn't credit Scotty Jive as his trainer.
No, I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that.
Scotty Jive Training Academy.
But
the Scotty Jive Training School.
But Cruz stopped, and he was pissed. He's like, what the hell are you guys doing? And I think it was Trainwreck. He was like, well, what the hell do you know? And he was like, I wrestle.
Yeah, it sounds like something Tommy Trainwreck would talk some shit to a random guy walking by.
I wrestle independent shows. And we were like, whoa. He's like, we don't even know this guy, but he said that, and we were just like,
oh, okay.
Whoa. And he literally was like, come with me. And now, normally, that's not something like a grown man comes up to 15-year-old kids and says, come with me. You don't go, yes, but he said, I'm a pro wrestler. And we were like,
all right.
Yes.
Well, into the van we go.
Into the van we go. Little baby clown car we all packed into. And he took us to Caroba. And he showed us like where he trained. And at the time, he was training with Brickhouse Baker. And that's where we met like Chris Pyro, Davey Cash, Eric Dillon. We came into
a wild cast of characters.
Yeah, we came into a late class. Those guys had already been working shows and already had years of experience, and we hadn't done a damn thing. So they didn't like us too much at first. I mean, we definitely had to earn our spot. Like, especially in class, I remember like the first person I ever did drills with was like Eric Dillon, and we were exchanging arm drags, and I barely knew what I was doing, but didn't matter. He was taking me for the ride, and I remember doming myself like so many times on the arm drag.
Yeah.
I remember coming back to class the next week thinking like, I don't know if this arm drag stuff's for me.
Yeah, I don't think I should probably take any arm drags.
I don't know about all that stuff, but like by the time I was done in that class, I learned how to take pretty much every bump that there was. So like that's one thing I could say. It was like I was prepared for pretty much anyone who's like, I got this crazy move I'm going to give you. Now, because that happens a lot when you're as small as I am. Everybody's like, I got this move I want to give you.
I can't say I haven't gone to a show and said, Mike, come here. Let me try this.
I got this move I want to give you.
But at that time when you were training there and learning to take all those bumps, were you wrestling for RWA?
I was, and it was frowned upon.
By those guys?
Yes.
Who all wrestle for RWA currently?
Yes, which is funny because like RWA started in T's backyard. Like the ring was set up literally at the backyard of his house, and those guys were on shows in front of people who were paying to watch them wrestle. So they're like, well, you're training here to do the same thing. Why are you potentially going to hurt yourself or somebody else in a place where you could all be screwed and anything can happen? It's a liability. They were just like, it's dumb too. And like, I don't know. I just didn't see it that way. Like they gave us our opportunity to be in a ring for the first time. So I just thought like, at that time, I almost just felt loyal to them. And at first, like, the idea of working shows and doing things was, like, so appealing that, like, then it started to steer us away. Like, a couple of us were like, okay, like, yeah, maybe we should, like, start paying our dues, you know, like, setting up the ring and doing security and all that funny stuff. But, like, I don't know. I just still always we were attached to RWA. We were, even though it was frowned upon. So it was...
See, when I first started paying your dues, my promoter thought it meant paying that money.
Dave used to literally say, you got to pay your dues.
Oh, yeah, I got to give you...
As in, like, give me the $20 a month to wrestle here or
ridiculous.
Something. That's what he literally... And he used to say it, too. You got to pay your dues, kid. That's what
so terrible.
It was adorable, I think, when looking back at it. You know what I mean?
And
I was just like, no, man, I'm not giving you any money to wrestle here.
I think it really just, like...
Still got booked.
It just, like... It prepared us, though, like, in the end, because a lot of guys, they would just train there, and they would have their first matches, and their first matches would be, like, terrible. like god awful. Like, and I remember thinking, like, as time progressed, like, we wrestled so much because we were in RWA. We were learning, like, the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts, like, in there. Like, if I hit the ropes like this and I do this, if I don't hit the ropes correctly, ow, this is what's gonna happen to me. If I don't, like, it wasn't just like, oh, you did that wrong. It was like I knew because, like, things were happening. Like, it was live. We learned a lot live at first, just like in there doing it. And I think we benefited because, like, eventually we got bored, because that's what happened. It was comfortable, and, like, because we eventually steered away from trying to train and work those shows, because, like, we were basically being told, like, you're not going to do this. Like, you guys aren't good enough. You're too small, blah, blah, blah. You're not good enough to do this. So but we were accepted in RWA, like from day one. So it was home. We could go back, and it was comfortable. And for years, that's how I gained experience, was just I wrestled a who's who of everybody who was there. Were you
involved in RWA, like, when it was in TCR and stuff, when, like, the town tried to get it shut down?
Yeah, it was.
And
I was.
The news, right?
Yeah, it was.
Newspapers.
I was.
What happened there? What was the story with that? I mean, I've talked with T about it before, but, like,
it was like
from your recollection, what was the
kind
deal?
of, like, zoning violation. They were trying to accuse us of charging people for running shows in the backyard, which is illegal because you need a permit to be able to do something like that, and you can't just do it in somebody's yard.
Right.
According to them, this is what they were saying. Like, I don't know exactly, like, what the rules and regulations are, but that was what they were trying to say. But the reality of it is, it was just friends and family coming through and having some beers and
hanging out,
watching some
like
wrestling.
A barbecue.
Yeah,
I think like having a barbecue in your backyard.
I think, in my opinion, I had a conversation with somebody about this, talking about, like, RWA from back in the day. Big Sip made an entrance where he had, like,
I just heard about this.
Like,
recently.
fireworks going off on the stage, and I feel like that was probably what stirred it up, was the big cloud of smoke in this, like, quiet neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that's
kind
of, like, yeah, they had enough, but
kids have been
it was a blessing in disguise
noise.
Because then, when we were forced to get a building, then that took away the backyard name from us. Yes, exactly. Stigma. Perfect word.
Now, I mean, it didn't take it away right away, obviously.
No, obviously not right away, but we were in the right track. We're going in the right direction. And within, I believe, the first year of having our own building was when we got to do our first, like, show outside of the building and charge people to come watch it.
And that was Live 1?
Live 1. Where was it? Rain One's gym in Johnston, Rhode Island, I think. Yeah, that was 2009. So yeah, so like a year of having that building, we were on
starting to run live
shows.
How did that first live show go?
It was received really well by the crowd that we had. Like, we had I would say a solid 120 to 150 people, which was crazy for us. We were
right, yeah.
We were all terrified because, like, nobody,
look at all those goddamn people.
We're wrestling in front of 30 friends and family who've seen us botch and seen us do dumb things and seen us fail. You know what I mean? And, like, now we were in a situation where it's like we're trying to show people that we're worthy of doing this, so we can't fail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sure, everybody, we did the best we could.
Right, at the time, right?
Yeah, but I was satisfied with it, and I brought it. And one thing that hits close to home is the fact that, like, my first live show, like, live match, like, it was, like, with a bunch of my friends, like, because Trainwreck was in the match, and Zach was in the match, and Devin Blaze was in the match, and Kevin Strider was in the match, which that really hits home. So, like,
right,
thinking about that now, like,
that
match was fun, and, like, the whole show was received so well by the crowd. Like, we felt like performers after that. Like, that's when the game changed for me. Like, that's when just wrestling at RWA, it went from being comfortable to boring. That's when it started to change.
I want to talk about Strider a little bit because when all that happened, we weren't really doing the podcast, and like, you've known Strider for a long time. We've known Strider for a long time.
Absolutely.
He's somebody that was involved in ACW with us back in the day, and he was involved in RWA very early on. He was around forever. It was a real tough situation. I don't want to go into too heavy details, but at his memorial show, they put all of us in that tag match for a reason. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
through the influences of his tag team. I wish some more people would have been involved. They would have been not in that match specifically, just in the show.
Yeah, people who are close.
There was a lot of like not random people, but just not as.
And don't get me wrong, I appreciate that because so many people reached out to be part of the cause, which is really awesome, and like that means a lot because like that's the one thing I can take from this is I hope now, like despite everything, I hope now like at least he can see like how loved he truly was,
right?
Because like
how many people
we did so well for him.
How many of the boys, like you said, reached out to be a part of the show,
to be a part of the show, and how many people were there? Like it was just
to support.
Yeah, it was. We did right by him, I think.
And I mean, it's good to
and I'm at peace with
to help raise money for the family and his kid and all that. But
absolutely.
It was a tough time for everybody, but the show came out great. There was some great matches on that show. In that tiny little building where Strider wrestled a million times.
Absolutely, which
like
is
growing
so
up as
cool.
a kid, you
so
know, like
cool.
I've had matches with him in that building. Max had matches with him in that building, and it was real cool for everybody to come together and go into that. I don't know where any of that footage is.
I mean,
or what's gonna?
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I had a dance off with him in that building.
Yeah, you did.
Oh man,
I won that one too.
The dance off, dude. He was all about the dance off.
He loved it. I don't know if you actually won. You just attacked him before he started dancing.
It's hilarious.
But sorry, I just wanted to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, no.
I feel like we went a little off track there, but
no,
so
I guess I don't know. Like that was the point where I started getting kind of bored. We also I forgot about this too. In the summer, right before RWA Live 1, we started training at the Pride Pro Wrestling Academy with Dan Freitas and Brian Nunes. I know that probably sounds ancient to people now, but
yeah, right.
that was
the spot, right?
Yes, that was the
LPW.
You catch Monday Night Raw and Mass, dude. You'll see that commercial for Lethal Pro Wrestling.
Yeah,
we were like, oh man, like training in Fall River, like we don't have to go to New Bedford and that super hard ring. And,
was that in the mill?
It was in the mill. And it was funny because we.
What happened to that place? Some guy break in.
Yeah, tore it up a little bit. Yeah, and it.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure it was the same place.
It didn't recover after that.
Lethal Paul. Remember we had Paul Azan on, and we had a.
No, I remember that. I'm just saying.
Like, remember you seen the kid who broke in? You seen the kid who broke in the mall, walking around with championship belts.
Oh yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about. Now that you say that, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Crazy scenario. Go back, listen to the Lethal Paul thing, and you can find out some more info on that.
That we should all do.
Plug in the podcast, kid. Sorry, continue.
Absolutely. So we we went down there and we told Dan Freitas, we just walked into the door and he had a couple of kids standing in the ring. Which was cool about this place was they had a 6-sided ring.
Yeah,
so not a lot of people can say like they trained in a 6-sided ring. So that was pretty cool. And we walked in there and we just told him, made up a bullshit lie. We were just like, Mike Baker has sent us.
Yeah.
And I guess apparently at the time they had heat or something like that, or just weren't on speaking terms. And he was like, why would Mike Baker send a bunch of his kids to my class?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He was like, all right, well.
Why didn't you guys just say you seen the commercial or something?
Because like we didn't like we wanted to like seem like we were like we kind of knew what we were doing. Yeah, because dude, you know how it goes. You get into you take a few bumps. Yeah, you take a few bumps for a year and you think you can do everything. Then 2 years pass and you watch that stuff and you're like, oh, I was the shits. So like at that point we're like, yeah, man, we're good enough to go to this training and do some more stuff. And then like that's when I realized I didn't know a damn thing, like because these guys.
I can take these bumps. But
yeah, I remember like
that.
They knew who we were instantly from our RWA stuff because apparently people watched. Everybody was watching the stuff we were doing, despite it being like being shit on, whatever.
Right,
Maybe that's why they were watching it too.
Yeah,
a lot of people were doing that too. But I mean, like, yeah, like they knew who we were. So we went there one class, and they're like, "We'll see what you guys got, and we'll determine like." How we're gonna go from here, and we ran all their drills, and we were doing them better than the guys that they had there who were training there for months.
Yeah.
So instantly they were like, "Whoa!" Like we have guys like who can bump and do things, but like it was funny because our next class was a complete 180 because then when we could go and we could bump, but then when it got time to having matches and doing things, they were like, "Oh my God, what happened?" Because we had no psychology.
Right. Well, so you guys are just out there doing
because we never got a chance to wrestle and like. When we were training with Brickhouse, we never got a chance to wrestle
for doing drills.
We never got a chance to actually wrestle matches and gain like actual experience. like we did RWA, but like those guys, not everybody there knew what was going on either. Like the only time we had matches that were somewhat passable was when we were wrestling each other. So like we went there, and those guys, I remember that training, we were the shits. And then the third time was when they realized who we were, and they had Blaze get in the ring, and they're like, "Can you do a moonsault?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he does a moonsault, and they're like, "Can you do a shooting star press standing?" He's like, "Yeah, I can." All sad because now he knows he's been exposed. And they're like, "Can you take a Canadian destroyer?" He's like, "Yes." And he's like, "All right, I know." Basically, he's like, "I know who you guys are. I know what you guys do." And then, but he said something to us that stuck out to me, and he was like, eventually he was wrong, but it stuck out to me. He was like, "You guys do this, and it's okay because you shouldn't forget where you came from, and it's all right that you do this, but eventually you're not going to want to do this anymore. Eventually you're going to want more." And he was right in a sense, but like at the same time RWA ended up growing, so like it ended up being a place to be, which is cool. But yeah, he said to us, he was like, "You guys do cute shit, but now I want to make your cute shit make sense." And like that's when we learned how to like put a match together. And then at that point, I kind of had a falling out with RWA, so that was kind of like I kind of like got kicked in the ass to go and start applying my shit, because like my homies were already in there, like Blaze and Trainwreck were already working shows. They had already been bored with just wrestling in front of the same crowd all the time. They were already ready to do it, and I wasn't yet. Like I was comfortable in RWA. I was 18 years old, 19 years old, and I had already like been at the top in RWA at that time. So I was already like, I don't know, I was just comfortable. I was afraid to leave, but then when things happened and I felt like I had to leave, it forced me to go out and work shows, and then I had to try to get booked, which was also scary. But I had a lot of help, because the thing is, like, I made a lot of, even though like in that short time already, I already made a lot of friends, and one of them is Anthony Green. He was really young, and he was the first person,
super young, right?
First person to ever throw my name out there to a promoter or a booker. First person to ever say like that Image kid, that Mikey Helix kid, he can do some things. And he got me booked for Bay State Championship Wrestling, Strictly Ruthless, whatever you want to call it. And I had and I had a cup of coffee over there, except
cup of coffee.
You couldn't even call it that, because one of the times I was there, I wasn't even myself, which is ridiculous. That's a funny story.
No. I got random footage of like me and you backstage at a Strictly Ruthless show that I randomly just showed up and was in the Battle Royal. You guys were trying to get me in that ladder match, and I was like, I'm not doing that.
Oh yeah.
I'm not doing
See,
that.
that was
I'm
the
not
last.
getting paid. Like,
that was the last one I did. That was like almost a year later. The first show I did there, I showed up thinking, okay, I'm gonna wrestle in a triple threat match against Trainwreck and Alex Creed. And when I get there, I find out that Mike Stryker, who was one of the Southern Bad Boys with Mike Majors. Mike Majors, yep, that's his name. I couldn't remember. He had some accident at his job before the show, and he was
short of shenanigan.
Yes, and somehow he wasn't going to be able to make it. So what ended up happening was Mike Majors, he pretty much coerced me into being Mike Stryker, because I was green and he's the veteran, so he's like, You're gonna be Mike Stryker tonight. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, see that gear you're wearing? I got something else for you. And he's got these big, extra large jean shorts.
Well, you've never been a big guy, but you were for sure not
but I was
big
wearing
then.
my big pants.
So wait a minute. They just tried passing you off as the same dude?
Yes, absolutely. I went out there, and I was one half of the Southern Bad Boys, Mike Stryker. They're like, his name's Mike in real life, and we don't have Mike Stryker. He's Mike Stryker tonight.
Tonight, you're Mike
They
Stryker,
found, dude, the belt I was wearing on my jeans when I showed up, I had to use to hold up my shorts that they gave me. I was like,
I hope there was at least one fan that was like, wait a minute. That ain't
Nope.
Stryker.
You say all this like we weren't in the crowd watching that show that day, because we totally were at that show.
What?
He totally doesn't remember.
Yeah.
But I remember you guys showed up, and then you went to Sonic. I remember that.
Yeah.
You guys were all jazzed about it.
Yeah, that show. Yeah, I remember watching Trainwreck's match. Who we wrestled, no idea. I just remember
it was Alex Creed. They took me out of that, and they put me in the Mike Striker.
Devin Blaze wrestled Eric Dillon.
Eric Dillon, and they had a good one. Lucky them.
Yeah, lucky them.
But yeah. So
you were Mike Striker.
I was Mike Striker. That was something. That was one of the funniest things I've done.
That's kind of ridiculous. A little
so
silly.
I spent a year doing dumb stuff like that. Like I wrestled for every like random company one time. Like every time I wrestled at that point was for a different company.
Did you ever wrestle at Show Pro?
No, I actually never did. I never wrestled for Show Pro.
I wrestled Tommy Trainwreck there well before he was Tommy Trainwreck. And before I knew I was going to be you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I look back at it now and I'm like, oh, damn, that was Chris Cruz's Mexican friend.
Yeah,
turns out not Mexican
his
at all.
Mexican protege.
His young Mexican protege.
Yeah, that was him.
Turns out not Mexican.
Yeah, no, I never did Show Pro. I don't know. I did a whole bunch of random places. Like, I did the CWA Kids Fest. That's like where we became friends and stuff.
We became friends.
Yeah. That was like already like
but
6
like you
years
knew
ago.
us already, right?
I did because which is funny is when I was growing up and I was watching wrestling, I used to pop on the cable access show that you guys were putting on, dude, and I used to tell like Blaze and Trainwreck about the Monster Max, dude. The Monster Max, these guys are ridiculous. And like I think it was Wrestle McAwesome Fest I saw where like I think Mike Austin was on it and you guys totally like bury him. Like
oh yeah.
It's so funny, dude. Like I remember like back then thinking these guys
Sounds
are
like a
hilarious.
Monster Moments.
Monster Moments.
Yeah.
That's probably what it was, dude.
In front
So
of the green
funny.
screen.
Yeah, it was in front of the green screen,
Yeah.
and you guys are looking back, just like, ah. But it was great. Like see how wrestling works. Like we're sitting here doing this podcast now, and like years ago, I used to watch you guys' TV show. Ridiculous.
We just like I don't know. We've always just been involved in doing something. We still do the Monster Max show after all these years. Like
I've been a part of the Monster Max show.
Yeah, I know. You were on there flexing, dog.
I was jacked. I was skinny jacked then.
Skinny Jack. That was the most. Was that the most jacked skinny Jack you've ever been?
Yeah. That was the big one.
First episode, season 3.
Absolutely.
Was it the first one? Was it the first one?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if that's true.
First episode of season 3.
Was it the first one?
It might have been. I can't remember.
I think it's the third. No. All right. I got no idea then. Terrible. Okay, so yeah, we always were like involved. We did the back then. It was just us doing barely independent, legitimate shows, and putting it on
Just
public
trying to get
access
by.
and
Just
making
trying
fun
to
of
get
like
by,
our
dude.
friends and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people remember us from that. It's so strange now. Like I look back at it.
I know it's crazy. Like that one year, I just randomly met so many people, but I did. It was such a like bitter pill to swallow to just sit there with my friends who I want to like progress with, dude, and I want to like do what they're doing because at this point, the Minutemen are beginning like their many-year-long feud with the Hoods,
Right.
and these guys are making money off of this, and I'm Mike Striker, you know what I mean? And I'm wrestling Nacho Cowabunga, and like. I had enough.
I
had enough.
Nacho
Like,
Cowabunga sounds amazing.
I gave like after 1 year of doing all those random shows, then I got back in touch with like Zach, who was wrestling at RWA.
Now people know him as Zach Fantastic.
Zach Fantastic.
Or
Steves from the
Minutemen promo video.
Yeah.
Do you think if I contacted Steves, he would come down and do a promo for us
Yeah, he would.
as the butler?
He would. He probably would. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
I think that's like his shoot job. He's like a waiter
He's
or
a
something like that.
legitimate
So yeah, so
butler?
he wears like he
like a
waits
rich
on
guy?
people. Yeah, he looks ridiculous.
Tremendous.
He wears like the Steves get up. But he kind of like was bitter in his situation over there because like he was one of the better guys there and felt like he wasn't getting the opportunity, and I was pretty much bitter too because I felt like I was getting good and I wasn't getting any opportunity. So I was like, you know what, maybe I need to go back and like maybe I need to reevaluate, and where's the place to do it than home. So I fixed things with T, and after a year I went back and I decided to team with Zach, and I figured that would help us both because we teamed previously before, and the Suicide Kings was the most over.
You guys were the guys.
Yeah, there was the most over thing in RWA. So I thought if we could revive that, it would have been cool. And then what was cool about that was we got to add Jason Devine, who's been my partner for years, into the mix because he was coming out of a group where he was one of the lackeys
Yeah.
and he became the leader of his own group, and we basically became his lackeys. But it was awesome because like we were all friends, and I got to leave doing something that I hated and come right back into doing something that was fun again.
Yeah.
And like I found myself again. I was happy, and like what was cool about this was I learned so much from being that 1 year being away that when I came back and I had to wrestle the guys who were lacking in experience and sometimes talent, I was comfortable wrestling them, and I felt like a ring general wrestling them, and I feel like that's what made me better because I had to always be the guy to control the pace of what was going on every time, and it made me feel good. Like when somebody would say like, "Oh, you're wrestling that guy," like, "Oh God, good luck," and I go out there and I have a match and it's over, and somebody's like, "Wow, like that was good
job."
That made me feel good. I'm like, "Oh shit, like I guess I'm doing something right." But you know how it goes. Like a year of that goes on, and
you get a little
now
frustrated.
I'm like, okay, so now I need to wrestle better people. The Minutemen are doing their thing, they're hot. I asked T, I'm like, can you bring them in to come wrestle? Which is kind of weird to say because they started there too, but like,
right.
But
They had at that time they were gone.
they
from
do.
there,
They
too,
went out.
like-
They did their own thing, and they elevated themselves on their own, which I give them a lot of
And then
credit
they came
for.
back.
And they came back, and they had that momentum. So like for me and Zach to get to wrestle them when they're like in PWF at this point, and they're winning everybody's tag team titles in the New England area, pretty much like all the smaller like promotions, they're winning everyone's belts. So we're like, oh shit, like now we got to go in, and that's where like my idea of what a wrestling match is completely changed, because then again, like after I learned how to put a match together, I learned there were so many more dynamics of it.
Right.
Because when I went into that match with them, they had so many matches with the hoods,
especially with tag matches.
they had so many tag matches with the hoods that like their idea of what a tag team match was leaps and bounds of what I thought it could be. So
Right.
when we had the match, I wasn't ready for that. I was not ready for that.
Was it the one that has like 5 different camera angles?
Yes, 5 different camera angles. There's powder involved, managers. There's all kinds of shenanigans. But
I remember that one.
But
It's like a red, white, and blue background.
yeah.
Okay.
So when it was over, I just thought to myself like, oh man, like there's more I need to learn. So then while wrestling RWA, then I started again trying to go out and get bookings. And now at this time it wasn't so much frowned upon, but like I was kind of like nervous to go to shows and have people like ask me like, "Oh, you're the kid from RWA," because I wasn't sure how it was going to be received. But then I was just like, you know what, fuck it. Like, this is like what I do, and I'm happy with these guys. Like, it was different the first time around because the first time around we were tight, but we were just like tight on like at shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like this time around, I became friends with like Sean Leader and Billy Ware, and like I actually befriended these guys, and it was different. Like I wasn't gonna say fuck you to my friends, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I can still progress in this because at the end of the day, it's your work ethic. It's what you do, and if you're out there and somebody gives you the opportunity and you make the most of it, nobody can deny that. You know what I mean? So I just started doing that, and then T hit us off with the big one. He was like, so I'm bringing in the Maximos, which the SAT.
Right. Jose.
But at this time,
it wasn't Jose and Joel.
It was Joel and
Joel
Will.
and Kyle.
It was
Kyle
and
Maximo.
Kyle Maximo. But that was
One
like
of the many Maximo cousins.
that was like, whoa, because like at first he was bringing them in to wrestle the Minutemen, but then I think they were tied to NWA on fire at the time,
yeah,
so
I
like
think
they
had
had
a
to do
title.
something for them, and then they couldn't do it. So T was like, that opportunity kind of just fell into our lap, mine and Zach's at the time, and he was like, would you guys want to have that match? And I wasn't sure if I was ready, but I was like, you know what? Let's do it because, like, we'll know. At least we'll know. Like, if we go out there and we duty it up, this will be the last time we'll ever have any match like this again. So, like, what do we really have to lose? We're still playing it safe right now. So I took the booking unbeknownst to Zach. I was like, yes, we will do it. We're in. And then I told Zach, and I got to watch the look on his face of sheer horror when he was like, oh, my God, we have to really wrestle now. It was funny. But, like, it prepared us because like I watched the SAT. I saw them on Wednesday night TNA. I knew who those guys were. I was like, oh shit, like this is the real deal.
That was pretty much your first experience with a name.
Yes.
To say.
Yes, that was my first like name experience. I'm trying to think of what year that was. It's probably like the beginning of 2012, so like 4 years ago.
When the match was all said and done, did you feel like wow, you really learned something?
I did, because like I learned how to pick up the pace in a match by the sound of the crowd from those guys, because like
that's pretty much what it's all about.
They said
crowd.
so, and they say funny things, like when they said like ridiculous things to me, like when they were ready to like pick it up. I remember, I think it was Joel. He said, "Let's go, baby. They're ready for it. Let's give it to them," just like that. And I was like, oh man, like all right, like. And then he said they're ready for it, and that stuck out. I was like,
it racist that you did like an accent with
no,
that?
I had to do it like that. That's how I heard it. That's how I heard it. So like, it is what it is, dude. That's how I heard it. It's like, he's like, that's how, like, let's give it to him. When he said that, like that, they're ready. I was like, oh my god, like. I'm actually listening now. Before I was just doing moves, and they were something, because like I learned what the hamburger model of what a match is supposed to be like. Sometimes they were over. You know what I mean?
Hamburger.
But yeah, sometimes they were over. But if you hand them the same sandwich every time,
no cheese on it.
yeah, it's not as appetizing. You know what I mean? I learned how to
extra pickles. Like
learn
Mac
how to throw the
loves.
condiments in there. You know what I mean?
You know that's a real thing. Monster Mac loves extra pickle.
Extra
he loves
pickles.
that extra pickle.
I'm down with pickles, dude.
I'm down with pickles as well. None of that bullshit with the seeds at the bottom. What is that?
No.
Sweet pickles?
I like a Vlasic. I can just.
A Vlasic. You did
Yeah,
the voice like the guy and everything.
Yeah.
And
That's my deal.
all right, so back from pickles to
The
Spanish
Maximos.
Maximos, yeah.
Okay, so I did feel good when it was over, because we did well, and when it was over, they asked us to come to their school and work like a student show against two of their students, and the whole deal with that was Chavo Guerrero was going to be there for a seminar.
Damn.
Junior, Chavo Junior. So I'm like, whoa, this is my first like. I mean, I've done Maine, but like this was my first like, oh man, I'm going to New York to wrestle. Like this is cool. So I get as far as Warwick, and the car breaks down, and I'm stuck. Like,
In Warwick.
Yep. No way to even get home, let alone get to these guys.
Just you? Or?
Zach too. And Zach the ref was actually with us too.
Strange.
Yeah, very strange. But like that's why we were like on our way to get him, because he was booked on the show too. So I figured I'd whatever.
Fun fact: Mike Montero came back and tried to help save Monster Mac one time when we were broken down on the side of the road.
I did that too. And I used like my directions from God, because I know GPS, dude. I was just like driving.
You're like, I know where I'm going.
Kind
I'll
of.
find him.
We'll find him. We'll see him on the road somewhere.
The Mac-mobile.
So we get
pulled over the side
stuck
of the road.
in Warwick, and I try to like call every number, like every way of contact them. I tried everything I could, but like I just didn't get anything back. So I was like, okay, well, there goes that. So after that, I'm ready to do things and like get booked on shows, but that experience literally terrified Zach. The experience of going out
like
there,
breaking down and stuff. Or?
Oh no, the experience of going out there and wrestling the Maximos.
Oh, that okay, yeah.
He didn't want to do that anymore. Like he wanted to stay. The way I was feeling a couple years before this was how he was feeling now. He was
wanted to
afraid.
wrestle comfortably with
Yes,
his
he was
friends and
afraid.
not.
That experience of having to be a serious wrestler and really wrestle like scared the shit out of him. So he told me, he was like, "Please don't take can we not take bookings?" So then I was already like, oh man, I guess now I gotta figure my shit out again, because now I need either a new partner or to do my own thing. So then I pitched this angle to T about us wrestling each other, like because the Maximos actually they put us over, which
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, not expecting that.
Yeah,
so
you think he had to slip him some extra duckarinos there? Like,
maybe. I mean, it was a good night that night. It was a good
yeah.
day at the office.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But what do you call it? So okay, so we beat them, and like at this point, Zach and I have won the tag team titles, I think 2 or 3 times together already. We've beaten all the teams in RWA. We beat the Maximos. So like, why are we still a tag team? So I pitched the idea of a best of 7 series between the two of us, and like the winner, kind of like what's going on Raw right now with Cesaro and Sheamus. Yeah, like the winner would get some kind of championship match or some kind of prize at the end. But the only thing that was a little over the top was it was all gimmicks. Like every match was like some kind of spectacle. Like it was too much.
How so?
Like submission match, escape the arena match, dog collar match.
I feel like an escape the arena match would be real easy.
It was fun.
Seems fun. See, I feel like escape arena would be easy.
I
I'm
thought
gonna go out that door. No, I'm just gonna go.
until you got
Karate kick.
Until you got somebody like grabbing onto you and you're like dragging them like the sad dog.
I will throw Monster Mac on my shoulders and walk right out this door
Well, I
right
can't
now.
be picking people up, dude. I gotta like slide through their legs
Get
and
a
escape.
shimmy and
Yeah,
shake.
do a little bit of shimmying.
Quick shimmy.
Yeah. So we even did a no ropes match
That sounds awful.
Yeah. I prefer the get into the arena match.
to get into the
You
just
get
show
into
up,
the
right?
arena and then you have your match.
Yeah, just the
then
normal
you leave.
normal match. Yeah, so we did a whole bunch of dumb stuff. And in the end, we ended it with the ladder match, which if anybody like watches RWA, they know like
Is this the barbed wire ladder match?
no, that's two different people. But I've done a lot of ladder matches.
The barbed wire ladder
I've done a lot of ladder matches in the RWA. So
Yeah, did you ever mess your shit up? It must hurt.
yeah,
match.
yeah, I got real hurt a whole bunch of times, Monster Mac, a whole bunch
hit
of
the
times.
face of the ladders and something.
Yeah. So the end, they put up this ridiculous looking briefcase, and I won this briefcase, which was basically Money in the Bank.
Was this after Money in the Bank was already a thing?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Come on,
I would
who else
assume.
thought of So I end up getting that, like winning that series, and then it goes from me and Zach winning this series to doing this series to now you're gonna use your briefcase and you're gonna wrestle Chris Sterling for the Triple Crown Championship. So I'm like, whoa! Like at this point, when I came back, I basically started from the bottom and worked my way all the way back up again. So like 2 years in to RWA after leaving for a year, now
Yeah.
I'm back to doing the deal like at the top.
Back to being the guy.
Yeah, and
One of the dudes.
now I deserve to be there. Like now I'm one of the best guys on the show. Like not to toot my own horn, but like at that time, so
Toot away, Mickle. Toot away.
toot away. So I ended up wrestling Chris Sterling at Legacy 5, which was like pretty huge crowd. We did it at Thayer Arena. This was the second time, which it's funny how like RWA's Legacy and WrestleMania, like their 4 and 5 are in the same place back to back.
Same thing.
Yeah, so like
Did Sterling dress for the occasion?
he brought
Suit?
No.
Cut off
His
sleeves?
manager wore a suit though, because he
Fuzzy
was
bow
funny.
tie?
Oh yeah. His manager had he had like the red tie going on, but
Wow.
no, Chris Sterling brought his best blue singlet.
His very best.
But in all honesty, we went out there and we had at that time a different match than I've ever had, because I was normally considered that guy who jumped off of stuff. You know what I mean? The guy who did crazy things, the Suicide King. But we went out there and we wrestled for almost 20 minutes and had a wrestling match, and that was my crowning moment, I guess. Because like I got to go out there in like a main event style match and
Go out and grapple.
and do it.
Yeah.
And we wrestled the big man versus little man match, and like that's the one thing I care the most about is like where I grew up it was crazy. So like I was constantly fighting, because like where I grew up people were just ignorant and just wanted to fight. So I had to fight all the time. So like I was never
battle back.
afraid to fight. So like when I wrestle, I don't fear anybody, or no matter what. So like I don't care if I'm going to get the stank put on me, because I'm going to bring it back. So like I love the big man versus little man match, because like to me the hardest thing you can do is make somebody believe that somebody that looks like me can beat up somebody that big. But that's what I pride myself on doing. And I felt like we accomplished that.
The underdog.
We accomplished that when it was over, and I feel like T was sold on that, because up until Chris Dozer just recently became the longest reigning Triple Crown champion, that was me. I actually had held it for, I think it was like 9 months or something like that.
Which is a long ass time
Yeah.
in an indie promotion.
It
for
is.
sure.
It is, especially when you're as small as me, and I was hearing it from everyone.
How many shows a month? Like probably 2 shows a month?
2 shows a month, yeah. I was hearing it from everyone. Oh, he's too small to be champion. He's too small. But like,
Yeah, is that pretty much drove you. You had to prove him wrong.
And T had faith in me, and that's what motivated me too. Was like T was like, "Well, wait till this match is over." And I can remember like different people coming up to me and saying like, "When I saw you out there, I didn't think you were gonna do what you did." And it's like, exactly, because that's what I want. Like I want you to realize that like I am small, absolutely, but I'll bring the fight. I will bring the fight. There's a lot of people who will say it like that. Mike Montero, he's stiff.
I've seen you spin kick Monster Mac directly in the face before.
Oh, the spin
and
kick. Spin kick's no joke, dude.
No joke.
I don't know how to.
You're a karate master for real.
I am. A lot of people don't know that. I try to keep that on the.
Is that something that?
Yeah, I try to keep that on the kayfabe.
Just gave it
but
away.
secrets out, guys. Secrets out.
I can go Steve. I can Steve Weiner this and go back and edit it out if you need me to. Take a shot.
Oh no, because if I say it once, I'm
probably.
probably gonna say it like 5 more times.
Okay, yeah.
So
no editing.
yeah, no, we don't want that. We don't want that.
So Chris Pyro said he was the wrestling Superman, and he would take 1,000 super kicks. There was no edit back then, I don't think.
Awesome, you
Not
segued
not
me
in
so
Scott
well.
Levesque's wood cabin in the woods.
You segued me so well because being Triple Crown champion during that time, I got to work with Chris Pyro, which I
Yes.
never got to do before. And when I was riding in the car all the time, with him and Davey Cash and the Minutemen knew I could wrestle, but those guys didn't. I hadn't proven myself to them.
Yeah.
So what better way than to wrestle one of them like one-on-one and show them like I can go? And now me and Chris Pyro, we're pretty tight because like just
because of those road trips, because of those matches and stuff like that.
the respect, like the camaraderie, and like he knows now, like and that was so important to me because like I just wanted everybody to know like I'm not here for no reason, you know what I mean? I'm not great, but I could do some things, you know.
It's funny because I look back at it and I think like, what are the teams that I've wrestled the most? Minutemen, you guys, the Hoods. It's probably the same thing.
Exactly,
You guys,
exactly,
like,
dude.
reverse order, you know what I mean? Like we've all wrestled each other rotatingly on shows for a while now. It's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you said you had that singles match against Pyro? Was it right after that they were just they knew they're like, all right, now he can go? So
It was like it was weird. Like he had, I think after he saw Legacy 5, which is where I won the championship, he had started getting an itch to want to go there because now Pyro was seeing like, okay, RWA is doing something right, like they're on the right track. Now I want to get on this before like anybody says like, oh, I'm a bandwagoner, like this, I see something here, I want to jump on that.
My first match at RWO was with Chris Pyro, and it was a 3-way dance.
Yeah,
with the Hoods.
I saw it,
Cash.
I watched it, and I enjoyed it.
Without Trainee too. I don't know why you couldn't make it for that one, but it went pretty well, so I was happy. Well enough for them for the invite back with the addition of Trainee number 1.
I was invited that night too. I was just hurt and I couldn't do it. And you had been trying to get us into RWA for
that's
years by that point. Forever.
Like I look out for my friends, and not just that, my friends who actually are talented and want to be good, and like I know won't make me look like an asshole. Like,
Oh, I appreciate that.
because like it's hard to just, you can't just say like go up to somebody and be like, yeah man, these guys are good, and just say that, you know what I
Right.
mean? Because like at the end that just ruins everyone. But like I have faith in a lot of the guys like that I came up with. Like I know because we all work together. Like I know what they can do, and I know I knew there was guys from the area that would be great additions to RWA that people had seen but not here. So I wanted RWA to be the place which
It's what it's become.
is the place that has everyone, a little
Right.
bit of everyone.
Right.
And I wanted you guys, and I wanted Cruz, and I pitched for David Baker for so long, and T was so against it. And he was like, no. When I was the hype champion, T was like, who do you want to wrestle? I'm like, David Baker. Every week I was like, David Baker,
Every
David
week.
Baker. And he's like, no. And then David Baker just kept showing up, and he booked him because like I stayed on him, and David
Right.
Baker was
Kept
there,
showing
and he
up.
showed,
Yeah.
and
Showed
he
face.
exactly, and he did the right thing, just like I had to do back in the day at the shows that he was working. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and that's awesome too. Like that goes to show you, like I finally got to that point that I wanted for so long, was to be respected and accepted by those guys. Like that, I sat in the crowd and watched. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so you're working with RWA on the regular. You're feeling confident. You're working with guys, not just in RWA but everywhere. You bring Georgie in. Does that open the doors for other guys too, or? Because Pyro did well at first. He was there for a while before.
See,
Davey showed up.
That's the thing. Like, I was trying to break the ice a little bit because T was already interested in Pyro because of the crowd reaction he gets, and I needed that test. So T was like, "Well, I'm thinking about bringing in Chris Pyro," and I was like, "Well, I need to wrestle him. Like, please let me wrestle him. Like, I need to wrestle him." And when he did good business, and then T wanted somebody who could elevate Grasso, and Grasso was still like new to the game, and he jumped into that spot with no question. Like, some guys come in and they're like, "Nah, I don't want to do this. Like, I've been here, I've been there. I don't want to work with this guy." But he went right in there and he jumped into it, and then T, I think that was what really opened T's eyes and made him like see like, okay, maybe these guys from these other places aren't as bad as I thought they were. Maybe I should
Like,
give them a
not
chance.
wrestling wise, like
No, like
fitting in wise.
Yes,
kinda
like fitting into the group,
being
exactly.
cliques or whatever. Because especially up until that point, RWA was like you said it. You guys were like a close knit.
It
family.
was. We were like a family. Like any outsiders were definitely like people were sketched out by them and were often questioned other people's motives. Like always thought that when somebody new was trying to come in, he was either a rib or they were trying to sabotage us or something like that.
Right.
We were constantly paranoid. But then it got to a point where it's like, I try to like make everyone realize like, yo, we shouldn't be. Like we're doing things right. Like these guys aren't coming up to you and asking you to wrestle because there's nowhere else to go. It's because they know that we're doing the right thing and like this is going to take off. Like we're going to start doing things.
Right. So who was the next guy in? Who was the next?
So Pyro was doing his thing for a while, and then Davey started getting the itch. I think we did Dynasty that year, and that was Pyro's first like live show. And he wrestled Cruz and Blaze, and they killed it in the first match.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
And then
that was the match where you wrestled Grasso, right?
I wrestled Divine first,
okay.
And then we did like the WrestleMania 9 thing. Grasso came out, and I challenged him, and then but when that show was over, that's when Davey was like, "Yo, dog, what's the deal? Like, what's up with the RWA? Like, I want to get in the RWA."
Yeah.
But like, me and Davey, like I said, I earned Pyro's respect. I didn't earn Davey's respect. So like I also felt like, to me at the time, I felt like he wasn't really one of my friends because of the way he treated me. But I was a young boy, so like it happens. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. But I didn't think like that. So like at first I was like, well, I'm not gonna try to help Davey get booked. But then like we got closer, and like then I was like, well, that's stupid because like. Why am I thinking about me when I should be thinking about this? So Davey was the next one, and like he really went on his own, and he pushed it on T, and then like I was like, yeah, you should. Why not? You know what I mean? Like you should. And like at first, I think it was those two, and then you guys were next. You guys came in right after that, but I had been pushing for you guys for years though.
Forever at that point.
For years, I was like, yeah, you got to bring in the Monster Max because you guys we had a tag team who was meaty and Fish, and they were like.
Yeah.
They were
like the heel versions of us, right?
Yeah, they were like, well, they had heel versions of themselves, which was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was awesome, but like, I would say
you just felt like we could have did some stuff with them.
Yes, because in Antics they were the Monster Mac light, but you guys could have made it like
right, yeah, by working with them.
Oh my god, it would have been so funny. So like that's what I always wanted to see was the Max versus Meaty and Fish. Unfortunately, when you guys got there,
they were already gone.
They were gone. Yeah. So, but all these dope ass guys are coming in now.
Yeah.
And then suddenly JT's back. And now like that's opening more doors because while he's gone, he's making a name for himself like no one else. So like,
yeah, he's killing it right now, man.
Yeah,
he's
dude,
all over the place. It's
so
awesome.
proud of him, really am.
Listen to the JT podcast on our podcast.
I was there.
I know you were there. You were live.
I was there live.
Both times?
I think so. Yeah, I was there both times.
Because he's got two. Go do some downloads, folks.
He does.
And I want to go back to that Jason Divine match where you guys killed each other. Like what was the build? Like what was the deal with that? Why? Because I mean now everybody knows you guys as the influence. You're the influence. It's you two.
Yeah.
You know, other members have been in and out and all that.
It's weird. We're like kind of like the unsung mega powers of the RWA because like we're two guys who were there from the very beginning, and we started battling with each other. Like his tag team partner, Paul Sands, Sean Sin, that was his original tag team.
Kept secret.
Wrestling's best kept secret. He was his original tag team partner. So like then we feuded. Myself and Blaze feuded with those two all the time. So like from the very beginning of RWA, I wrestled Divine. And then we wrestled each other for the Triple Crown title. I lost the Triple Crown title the first time I was champion to Divine. And basically going into that match with Dynasty, the whole deal was every time we had ever had a major match against each other, I never beat him. And then suddenly he's in a position where he wins the throwdown and he's guaranteed a shot at me. And now he's squeaky clean Jason Devine, but for years he was this despicable human being. Now I'm questioning his motives. I'm questioning his motives because of that. And now I'm starting to become paranoid and become obsessed with keeping the Triple Crown title. So then I strike first is basically how it goes. And then it rekindles this war that started like years ago. But like that match was the pinnacle. Like after that, we couldn't do much more than that. We destroyed each other.
Yeah.
That match is probably going to take... I'm probably... If I stop wrestling in a couple of years from now, it'll probably be because of some of the things that happened in there.
Happened in that match.
Yeah, that match was out of control. But I felt amazing when it was over because like...
You finally got the big one.
I had the big one with him, but I also made... I gave Mike Grassa his moment because he was on the cusp of being the next guy. Like because I was the bad guy champion, and when the bad guy champion's the champion for a long time, and he keeps winning, and he keeps doing dastardly things, and I won. The match was no disqualification with Divine, but I won like clean, like I just pinned him.
Right,
like there's no bullshit. So now everyone's pissed, and all of a sudden Grassa comes out, and it's like, oh man, like a whole nother match is gonna happen. And when it was over, that's like the only time I think I can remember the whole room just vibrating. And while I'm laying on the mat, because I took the tombstone, and I hear the three, like it was deafening how loud the place went for Grassa. And I knew right there. And JT said it to me, like he slid into the ring because all the boys came out for Grassa's moment, and he said it to me. He was like, "You made two guys tonight," because like I had an awesome match with Divine, but I also gave Grassa his moment. And like that's to me. If you're not in this for the moments, then what are you in it for? Because that's what it's all about,
that's
dude.
That's one of the big ones. And you got to give it to him.
To two people. So, like, it was awesome in the same night. And I was so hurt when that match was over, too. Like, I couldn't even tuck my chin for, like, a week.
Yeah. So you were talking about, like, all the new guys coming into the RWA and all that. And I think around that time was when you were starting to do the stacked deck stuff.
Yeah.
That's you... Chris Cruz, Devin Blaze, when he first started doing like the clowny jive.
Yeah.
And I think when he was doing the Minutemen, I think he was still like, not part. He was getting a little darker at the time, but he for sure was. Yeah. He wasn't the party boy like neon sunglasses.
He wasn't happy wearing all that bright stuff.
Right.
There was definitely some darkness going on inside, and it's crazy to think that like the Funny Man has become what he's become, how he's evolved into this President God.
Right.
He's evolved to President God,
yeah.
but like. It was just, I called on the help of one of my best friends to come help me out and my crew, like be in my crew.
You spoke about Cruz too. How that
hits home because like Blaze's, I broke in as Blaze's tag team partner. He's my original tag team partner. Yeah. Cruz is the guy who originally showed us a wrestling ring.
Yeah, don't die.
Exactly, showed us don't die. So we got to be a group, and I loved that at first because like we had some awesome chemistry together, and we did such cool things.
Yeah.
But then, like, it got old quick because we just started killing people for the sake of killing people. Like, there was no more real reason behind it. There was nobody who was coming at us at the time. Like, we wrestled, I think they put together Divine, Pyro, and Trainwreck as the Strong Style Express. And we had, like, a series of matches with them, including the Stricken War Games match.
One that's been deleted from history?
It was deleted, never saw the light of day. But, yeah, after that though, like it was so intense the things we did with those guys. Then after that, they were just giving us three-man groups, and we were just beating them up.
Right, I think we were one of those 3-man groups.
And I got bored. I got bored with that. I was like, I need to do something else. And then they had two mid-card, I guess, titles: the junior heavyweight and the television title. And T at Legacy that year decided he was going to unify them and merge them, so we'd have one belt. And it was, I gave him, I'm going to take credit for this because I was pitching it for so long. I gave him the idea because our TV show was called Hype. I was like, why don't we have a hype champion?
Right.
Why don't we have a hype champion? And that's what the unified belt ended up being called. So, like, I wanted it so bad. And it was something, like, for me, like, it was a goal for me because if I had won the hype championship, then I really would have won everything in the RWA. I would have been the first guy to do that. And that was bucket list for me. Come on, like that's where I started wrestling. So that would have been awesome. So that's at the time Pyro is the champion. So now we get to pick up where we left off, when he first started in RWA, because
Yeah.
I was the Triple Crown champion. Now I'm chasing him for the hype title, which was, man, we had some pretty wild matches, and then it culminated in an Iron Man.
30-minute.
30 minutes.
And how I mean, I'm sure I've gone out there and done like that base brawl match and silly funny ass matches like that for 30 minutes, but to go out there with Pyro and literally grapple, do all the crazy ass stuff that he does for 30 minutes, like how did that feel? I not obviously not worried about it, but
okay, so I grew up a fan of Bret Hart, so I saw the Iron Man match, and I saw I've watched that match from start to finish so many times that people look at me like you're insane, because
match is
it's
so
like
good.
it's so good, but it's so long, so people are like, you're ridiculous. But then I watched The Rock versus Stone Cold's Iron Man match. I mean, not Stone Cold. I'm sorry, Triple H. You're right, Triple H. The Rock versus Triple H, and saw the way they
18 falls.
Dude, the way they broke down that match, I was like, oh my god, this is the kind of pace we got to have, is this one, and then maybe we can throw some of that old some of that Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels at the end, and I was ready. I was ready for this match. That's what I remember about it. It's there was only one point I can remember being gassed, and it was maybe 15 minutes in, and I just sucked some wind, and I was back. But we ended up going overtime. We were one fall apiece. We ended up going overtime. We went maybe 3 or 4 more minutes. So it ended up being a 34-minute match. That's the longest match in my wrestling career. We brought it. And in the end, I ended up finally getting that moment, winning the hype title, and basically I did it on my own, so I no longer needed the help of a group.
Right, you were by yourself as the hype champion.
Which then becomes even more bucket list cool, because then it set up the whole deal between myself, Blaze, and Cruz. We got to work a series of matches, a stack deck against each other. I got to do a one-on-one with each of them and a triple threat.
Yeah.
Which was, my God, like both of their brains are just, the way they think is so crazy. So like put the three minds together.
Right.
We're doing some stuff. But
and you guys, that was your long hype title run, right?
Yeah. I defended it 15 times straight. That was what I wanted to do, because like I said, the show was called Hype, and we had a hype champion. And me, being a wrestling fan, the television champion defended the title on TV. Like that was,
and these are the hype shows that you
so
want to
like
defend
I
on.
wanted to defend the title every single time we wrestled. Like every single time we had a show, I wanted to defend the title. So that's what I did. And then while I was doing that, I was starting to get more bookings and working other shows. Like I was starting to have like my couple of matches and beyond, doing their secret shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I started traveling more and doing more seminars, and I was doing all that stuff with Divine as my partner. But in RWA, I'm the hype champion just randomly. Right. So then I'm constantly trying to reinvent myself and do different things. And I started getting bored.
Your hair gets changed up. You do whole
exactly
different looks.
Like I always want to be different. So like I started thinking like, okay, like I've been the hype champion for all this time. Like, it's time to do something else now.
That culminated in that big-ass ladder match, right?
Yes. Which I got to relive something I did in the backyard that I probably should have never done.
Right, but in front of fans.
In front of fans.
Like
it was
a lot
cool.
of fans, too.
Yeah, it was cool. That place was lit up, and I loved it because we were the first match, and I didn't even care. I was like, we're going out there, and we're stealing it right now. Sorry, guys, but
it's okay. I think we were like third, I think, or something.
Like, sorry, guys, we're doing it
like
big tonight.
You said that to us, and we were like, damn.
We're doing it big tonight. I loved it because all the boys, like, you could see like all the heads peeking through the
I was up
curtain
there
and
watching.
stuff like that.
I was on the other side of the building watching through. Like an opening where the bathrooms were.
Oh man, it was awesome. That was a cool send off, but like it was bittersweet because I didn't necessarily want the way I lost the hype championship to go down like that.
Right.
I thought it kind of left the belt with like a sour taste on it. It was just like, yeah, exactly. Just like anybody who wins this now is just.
They couldn't beat me.
They couldn't beat me, but there it is. You know what I mean? And it gave it bad luck. Because if you saw like that whole like,
if people don't know what you're talking about, you Shawn Michaels there, right? You gave the belt away.
Yeah, I forfeited the title.
Smile.
I lost my smile. I forfeited the title.
You were just upset beating everybody.
I had enough. It wasn't fun anymore beating everyone, I guess. So, but yeah, and I decided that would be the time to tag up there because that was one thing I never did. Like, I had been teaming with Divine. We were the Helix brothers at ACW in 2010. Like, we had been teaming for like almost 5 years on and off everywhere else besides RWA. Now, we did the Influence together as a group, but we weren't the tag team. So
right.
He did his own thing. I did my own thing. So, like, getting to actually be a team was something I wanted to do. But I just didn't think it was going to happen so quickly and just like that. Like, okay, now you're not the hype champion. Because I feel like that left a poor taste on the hype title, and it was just like, now it's this meh. So then fast forward a couple of...
Hold on, let's get... I just want to throw a little
Go
fun
ahead,
fact
go for
out
it.
there. Right after you guys became the tag team, just like that, boom, lost to Mack Attack.
Just like that. You're
Lost
right.
to Mack Attack,
I was undefeated for 15 matches.
This
matches.
This MFer right here,
Hey,
pin
Monster
them
Mack.
shoulders to the mat, dog.
That French wine was way better than my jazz juice that night. He got me. Pinned my shoulders to
We
the mat.
gloated that victory on the Monster Max show, may I add.
Yeah, I know, but half the match was us putting the stank on you guys. It
I
was
don't
a
even know what you're
totally
talking about.
different match.
Nah, that's not true.
Ends with a different pinfall. I know what I've seen. I know what I've seen.
So, Mack Attack. I was going to start talking about. So, Mack Attack's awesome right now. So you guys become the Influence. You're the Influence.
Just the two of us
Just
now.
two of
No
us.
more guys. Just us.
And
The
then
real,
you have
the real
your-
guys.
boom, tag team champions
Out of nowhere.
out of nowhere.
We just got a momentum going. We got a momentum going, and we won the tag team titles. I've gotten to do a lot of bucket list things. As a kid, like, you grow up and you see, like, for me anyway, like, I knew I wanted to wrestle when I saw the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian doing all their ridiculous stuff. That's when
That was when you were like,
when I wanted to
I could
wrestle.
do this.
I was a fan in the Bret Hart time, like when Bret Hart was doing his thing. That's when I became a fan, but I wanted to wrestle when I saw those dudes like climbing ladders and coming off the cages and stuff like that. And I ended up doing a lot of ladder matches over the years, but the one thing I never got to do was wrestle in a cage.
my moment where I was like, hey, I can do this is when I watched Monster Mack wrestle at the Ankle Plaza, and he like fell through some like plywood tables, like on sawhorses. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
Yeah, damn right I know what you're talking about. I didn't know you were there, though. That was my official, that's like the recorded Monster Mack official match is Monster Mack versus Peter Crave for PTW, which is turned into ACW. But before that, they had a show live, and I wrestled Dockside, and I did a spot where we didn't have official tables.
Oh,
And
nice.
Back
Was
in
it
my
like the
backyard
Japanese
days,
table, the little tiny table?
we would just get sawhorses and
Oh,
then
okay.
put like
Put a
a piece
plank
of
through it.
wood or some drywall
okay.
or something.
I know how
So
it
it
works.
was like multiple Jimmy rigged 3 tables stacked on top of each
man,
other.
so ECW light is
What
you-
what happened?
You
They laid me on it.
and then Homeboy climbed to the top because the dressing room had like a top to it. Remember? And he landed on you, but none of the tables broke, and you guys just the whole thing just fell over. That was that. I seen him, and I was like, I'm gonna ask that guy if he has a training school, and it turns out he did, and here I am now.
Excellent. Excellent.
I really did see that. That's like real life. I was a really.
And you
a
were like,
fan.
I'm ready. I could do this.
I was
now.
like, yo, I could do
He
this.
could do
Look at
that. Me. I'm in there.
But he also witnessed the Peter Crave match. Then he asked. It took two.
Okay.
Monster Mack matches.
Two matches.
But the idea was there.
All
It's
right, you
been in
planted
his
the
head.
seeds. Planted the seeds.
Yeah, I had no idea you were at that show.
Yeah, no, I totally was. So you guys are the Influence tag champs out there doing your thing everywhere, not just RWA.
Yeah.
But you're out there wrestling multiple places, tag team champions multiple places. I want to talk to you about this a little bit. How do you feel about WCW closing? Because you had some crazy.
That hits me in the feels, dude.
You had some runs in the WCW,
Yeah, I did.
Whaling City Wrestling.
I came in and out of there a couple of times, and I really I enjoyed the time that I spent there. I did, and I'm really sad to hear that they closed doors, because it's one of those places, like, you know how, like, I don't know, back in the day I was saying, like, it was frowned upon to wrestle in that small place, but, like, we was frowned upon because we were in the backyard, you know what I mean? But, like, to me, that was like a good spot for guys who are coming in to just practice things and try new things, and like it was a good place for people to find themselves. And it's a shame that it's closed down, because it also brings a lot of the boys from the area together, because when we're not working shows,
I was gonna say,
we're
even
in the
when
building, dude, and we're having a good time watching the show,
Even when you're not
having
even
drinks.
wrestling, a lot of the wrestlers still go to
Exactly,
just
like,
have a good
lot
time.
of the guys who used to wrestle there, who don't,
It's a
guys
fun
who never even heard of
environment.
it. Like I bring friends from random places. I'm like, you got to come to WCW and come watch this wrestling. Like some of my old friends, we're gonna have a good time. Like that's so. I mean, it really does suck that they closed down.
And then for me, it hits me in a really deep spot because WCW used to be ACW, and then which used to be PTW, which I got my start. And
exactly.
To see it finally come to a close.
And that was like the first place I really tried to go to and like wrestle outside of RWA. So yeah, I mean, I think me and Divine were the tag champs there before.
Yeah, I think so.
We had a good time. We had a good time there. Dude. I was real jazzy for the WCW ride.
We were supposed to make a surprise entrance in their last show for the Battle Royal. What was is it the Gold Rush?
Gold Rush
the
Rumble.
Gold Rush Rumble.
They had to like postpone the show, and then we couldn't do it the day that it.
Oh man,
we were gonna come out together as one entry. Just Mack Attack. It's both of us.
Well, surprise!
So, yeah, we're gonna win.
But the real surprise was, wah, wah.
Yeah, surprise on us.
Yeah,
no more shows.
No more.
But so it leads to you guys splitting up. The Influence breaking up, and it led to a whole deal with you guys in RWA. Like you lost the tag belts, and that was kind of just it. You had that crazy ass match with the Minutemen, right?
Yeah, that was probably the one. Like I said earlier, we've wrestled each other in like 5 different states. That match has gone pretty much everywhere. Like we wrestled, and that was the one. Like that was the one. If I show that to like if I have a match, I'm gonna show to promoters and things like that. Like that's the one because we had all the elements.
Right, and you just crazy ass match, but the Minutemen win.
They're
dastardly.
They are what they are, dude. They are what they are. And now, since then, I've been in a slump.
Well, let's talk about you. You guys lost, and then Jason Divine, poof, gone.
I can't even like
he's upset, and I get it. Like, what you go from being on top to back on the bottom.
I mean, when we lost, like, I've had to sit back and reevaluate myself as well. But I'm in there trying to find myself again, and I don't even know where he is.
Right.
So, like...
You say you've been in a slump, though.
Yeah, because...
No, you say you don't know where he is. Obviously, you've seen it, but you don't know where he is, like, mentally.
Career-wise.
Right,
career-wise.
yeah,
where he's trying to go, I don't know.
It's not like he's lost.
No, I see
don't
him all the
print
time.
out-
He's my friend.
Don't
but
print
like,
out, like, where is Jason Divine
yeah,
posters
no.
and stuff.
Have you seen him?
Yeah. Put him on street post signs and stuff.
He just doesn't... He's not sure where he's going, and you know what? I'm not sure where I'm going either. But
you're out there trying.
I'm trying to find it. Like
you're fighting.
I have an idea of like what I'm trying to do, and I just want to show that I can hang like with some of the best. And I've gotten to achieve every level of success in RWA there is. Now I just want to be. I want to be one of those guys who I want to be that guy that people come to wrestle. You know what I mean? I want to be that guy like, oh, this guy's coming here. Mike Montero's coming here to wrestle. You know what I mean? I want to be that guy. I want to be like when Dave Cole comes to RWA and Brian Fury come to RWA and Brian Malonis. Those guys are respected and regarded, and people praise them, and like they're respected by all their peers, and rightfully so. And I just want to be one of those guys. Like that's what I want to be right now, and that's why I haven't gotten that win. And now tomorrow, if I don't get it, that's it for me. Which
now you say you're in a slump, but you mean win-loss?
Win-loss because you can't
that match you just had with JT was killer. We had it on when we started the podcast. No, it was real good. You guys went out there and you like the fans were super into it. You guys killed each other. It was super athletic. You guys, it was a good match. I really enjoyed it.
It's JT's he's one of my best friends where we look at each other as brothers more than our real brothers. Like we don't like our brothers too much, so we have that in common. But like at the same time, we also have a common love for wrestling. And he's another one of those guys who believes in me. And at this point in time, I haven't given him a reason to. Like I put it down in there, and I showed I can bring the fight, but bringing the fight only gets you so far. Like the wins is what matters. I got to start winning matches, and I'm in a do or die situation now. And as awesome as it is to be out there and put it down with Dave Cole and put it down with JT Dunn and things like that, I need to beat those guys. That's what it comes down to. Like I'm almost there. It's like right there. I just need to grab on. You know what I mean? And tomorrow is do or die for me. Like I tomorrow night I have to win. It's a must-win situation.
Tomorrow night is Fatal Impact for the RWA, Providence, Rhode Island, 7:30 bell time. I'm making that up. $10 at the door, also making that up. I'm not 100% sure, but there are a bunch of matches. Minutemen are wrestling. The heavy hitters, you didn't have to whisper, you could have just said it out loud. Mack Attack is wrestling Tim Squared, the two Tims, as I like to call them. Tim Davidson and Tim Lennox. One of them is a slam dancer. One of them, I believe, might be, was it Norwegian? No, how do you know how to say that word? Norwegian, yeah. Something not like he's a Viking.
He's a Viking.
And
fair enough.
You, Mike Montero, you have a mystery opponent.
I do, handpicked by President God himself.
Now, when it comes to President God himself, you have absolutely no idea who's going to be walking through that curtain. Could be somebody from your past. Could be somebody you've never seen before in your life. Could be somebody that he knows, a name from somewhere, or where Minutemen do shows. It could be, I don't know, man. It could be anybody coming through that door.
Over the years, he has become like one of the most unpredictable characters.
For sure.
In New England.
He's a wild clown.
He is a wild guy. And who he has for me is completely up in the air. I have no idea who it could be because it could be anybody.
Now you keep saying this is a do or die situation.
Because the whole deal is the way President Gods broke it down is if I don't win this match, the guy I'm wrestling is going to take my spot from me in RWA. And if I can't be the man or one of the best in the company that I helped build, then how am I going to do that anywhere else? What am I going to do? I need this. I need this more than anything I could have ever needed. I need this win because this is what's going to propel me to that next level. And it all starts tomorrow night if I can get it done. But I got to say, like, I've been through some wars in RWA. I've wrestled so many different people and had so many different crazy matches. But this one, it's literally going to come down to death because that's the only way I'm going to lose tomorrow night. That is the only way I'm going to lose is if the man I'm wrestling can literally kill me. But I don't think he's man enough to do that.
How does one prepare for a match where you don't know who your opponent is? Because me, I've been watching a lot of Viking movies and listening to punk rock, and like the Ramones and stuff to get ready for the match, to put myself in the mindset where could they be coming from?
Lots of slam dancing.
We've randomly been attacking each other with slam dance maneuvers, like living room mosh pits, which is probably going to happen after the podcast is done because we're going to put the equipment away first.
Yeah.
You pick the pennies up and you throw them, and then
you pick the pennies up and you throw them.
You start the lawnmower. You got to start the lawnmower. I caught training with many elbows.
So that's how we've been preparing. How have you been preparing for this match?
I've been preparing mentally, in the sense that I basically told myself, tricked my mind to know that no matter who comes out through that curtain, that my shoulders can't be pinned. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what happens. I just cannot be pinned. That's my mindset. Is no matter what I do out there, is not be pinned. If I got to roll out to the outside, I just cannot be pinned tomorrow.
You
night.
may not be pinned, but you think you might give up a little bit. A little submission hold.
Like I said, you're gonna have to put me out because I'm not going down. I will not give up. I need this. I need this more than anything. I need it. I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed this whole conversation we've had, and it's been amazing. But when it comes down to this is as serious as it gets, and I need this so much. It's do or die. I need to have this. I need to win. I need to progress. Because I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that's keeping me back, but I know that I'm going to find myself once I get past this.
You ready to take that next step tomorrow?
I'm ready.
Mike Montero, bringing the fight tomorrow night to RWA. Mike, are there any last words you want to say to anybody maybe breaking into wrestling or fans, maybe even promoters listening out there about Mike Montero? About anything, kids trying to get into grappling.
Kids trying to get into grappling? Go for it. Live your dream. That's the one thing that I want, that I can say, and that all of us who do this can say, that a lot of people in this world don't get to do. And that's live your dream, like
on a big scale or a small scale.
on a big scale, because
No,
there's-
I'm saying either way, go
Either-
and live your dream.
either way, exactly.
something you're passionate
exactly.
about.
What you love is what you love, and give it the best you can, because like it's yours to own. You know what I mean? Like this is what we do, and this is what we love, and we give it everything. And I just think that a lot of people are afraid to sometimes reach out for things, because some things could be simple, but they don't know that. And
Right.
some things are impossible to achieve, but that makes it so much better to grab, you know what I mean, to reach out for. And I think that's what people need to do in this world, is just not be afraid to try to live your dream, because there's a million people in this world who walk through life and are miserable doing what they do when they could be happy doing something else.
Right. I mean, I don't even understand it. If you live a normal, everyday life and you don't have a passion or something to, you know what I mean? Like,
Then why are you living?
right. At least do something that, I don't know, man. I try to do something every day that I don't want to say furthers my dream, but is at least not selling my soul to the man.
I guess,
you know what I mean?
I guess all I can say is find something you love.
I live off the grid, dog.
Stick with it, and don't ever let it take your smile away. That's pretty much it.
Inspiring words, folks. Tomorrow night at the RWA Chop Shop, Fatal Impact, 7:30 p.m., 141 Broadway. I don't know if that's
681
Broadway. I'm making numbers up.
I don't know what kind of barrio you're going to end up at if you go to 141 Broadway.
I'm sure they have some info on the internet, so you could.
Oh,
look
yeah,
them up.
absolutely. On
What do they
RWA's Facebook page, on their Twitter, at the RWA Forever.
And if you fans would like to look up some of these matches we were talking about, you can go on YouTube and check RWA at the RWA
Number 4.
ever. And yeah, well, I just want to thank you for coming to the Mac Mansion.
I had a
You
great
too,
old
Tommy
time.
Trainwreck, for accompanying us. Much appreciated, and thank you, fans, for listening. I'm Monster Mac here with the Mack-Cast, alongside with.
Training number 1, and go to monstermac.net and watch our videos, and also listen to the podcasts.
All these cool podcasts.
And we'll keep doing them. We promise.
It's good stuff.
The people want it, Trini. They've been demanding it, and it's back. So now they're just mad at us for not having them on there on the pod. So Mike can finally stop talking trash. So,
I had to talk trash, all right?
It's okay.
Let 'em know.
So yeah, folks, everybody have a good night. I'll smack that night.
Stay jazzy.